Tariq stands at the edge of the dark forest, his feet frozen in place. The trees loom ahead, their branches twisting into a thick canopy that seems to swallow the light. A heavy silence wraps around him, but within it, a faint, familiar melody whispers through the wind. The voice of his grandmother echoes in his mind, sharp and clear. Never step foot in the forest, Tariq. Her warning has always been a weight on his heart, a rule that kept him safe in the village. But today, something inside him refuses to turn back. The wind stirs again, carrying the haunting tune. It's the song, the same song his grandmother taught him when he was small. The song every child in the village learns. The song that is said to hold ancient power. But today, it sounds different. Louder. More urgent. He listens, his heart racing. The song feels like it's reaching out to him, pulling at his very soul. It can't be, he mutters to himself. I've heard it 1,000 times before. But today he pauses, searching for the right word. It's calling me. Tariq feels a tremor in his chest, his mind at war. The elders always spoke of the forest's dangers. They told tales of spirits and shadows that lurked beneath the leaves, waiting for someone foolish enough to step inside. But this melody, this song, begs him to listen. Maybe I can just listen, he whispers, stepping forward, his eyes still fixed on the dark path ahead. Just for a moment. His feet move before his mind can catch up. The first step into the forest feels like a promise, a vow he has made to uncover the truth. The song beckons, its notes floating through the trees like a thread of magic. Tariq's heart beats faster, but he can't stop now. The trees are thick around him, towering over him like silent giants, but the song guides him, each note pushing him further. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and unseen things. The shadows stretch longer, darker, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. Still, the song leads him onward, winding through the trees like a thread of hope. With each step, the melody changes. What was once a soft, comforting tune becomes something darker, more twisted. The once sweet harmony now carries a deep, unsettling undertone, like a warning in the wind. Tariq feels a chill running down his spine. The song is no longer the same. It's as if the forest itself is alive, its voice echoing through the branches. He hesitates. His breath catches in his throat. The trees shift. A whisper rustles through the leaves. Tariq's eyes dart around. He feels it, something is watching him, waiting just beyond the darkness. The song hums louder, its eerie notes weaving through the trees. The sensation that he's not alone grows stronger. He turns quickly, his hand reaching for the stone knife his grandmother gave him, but his grip feels weak, unsure. The rustling grows louder. Closer. Who's there? He calls, his voice trembling with uncertainty. The shadows seem to stretch toward him, swallowing the light. The silence that follows presses against his chest like a weight he can't lift. Then, the song shifts again. A deeper, menacing note slips into the melody, filling the air with a sense of impending doom. The trees groan, the earth seems to tremble beneath his feet, and Tariq's skin crawls with a cold, uneasy feeling. This isn't just the forest. This is something ancient. Something old. The elders' warnings flood his mind. The forest holds spirits long forgotten. The song was made to protect us from them. But if sung wrongly, it will unlock what should remain sealed away. A heavy silence follows the song's shift. Tariq can feel the weight of those words pressing against him. The song, the one he's known all his life, might not be the blessing he thought it was. It's a dangerous thing, a power that could tear everything apart. But the melody calls to him, a magnetic force he can't ignore. I have to know why it calls, he mutters, his voice almost lost in the growing storm of sound. I have to understand. Despite the growing fear gnawing at his insides, his curiosity wins. His steps, though slow at first, gain confidence. The song is louder now, stronger, pulling him deeper into the darkness. There is no turning back. The path ahead is uncertain, shadowed and unknown, but Tariq cannot stop. The truth calls to him. And no matter the cost, he will uncover it. With one final, steadying breath, he steps into the forest's heart, the song now carrying him forward with undeniable power. The shadows close around him, thick and suffocating. The mystery stretches ahead, calling his name. And with that, Tariq steps deeper, crossing into the unknown, his fate intertwined with the song. Tariq spent his days running through the village, his mind racing with questions. Why does the sun set in the west, grandmother? He'd ask, his face alight with curiosity. Why do the birds sing when the rain falls? His grandmother would smile, shaking her head. Your mind is like a river, Tariq, she'd say. Always flowing, never stopping. But Tariq's greatest fascination was with the ancient song of Kakara. It was sung by the elders during every ceremony and echoed through the village during every festival. He had heard it since he was a child, its notes floating through the air like an invitation to something greater. But the true meaning of the song remained hidden, locked away behind whispered words and cautious glances. Some elders said the song had the power to heal the sick, while others claimed it could summon storms. But no one dared to speak of its full power. Every time Tariq asked, the answer was always the same. The song is a sacred thing. You will learn its power in time. But Tariq's hunger for knowledge could not be tamed. His eyes would widen as the song rose in the air, a sweet and haunting melody that seemed to pull at something deep inside him. What was it about this song that made the elders so nervous? What was the secret hidden within its notes? One evening, as the village gathered around the fire, the elders spoke in grave tones. The village elder, his voice low, spoke to the children, Tariq among them. This song, he began, must never be sung outside the village. It carries great power. If misused, it will bring danger upon us all. Tariq's heart beat faster, but the words only fueled his curiosity. Danger? What danger? You must understand, the elder continued, the song is not just a melody. It is a key that can unlock forces beyond your control. Do not take it lightly. Tariq's eyes shone with a mix of wonder and uncertainty. What was the true meaning of the song? What was the key that could unlock something so dangerous? Later that evening, he sat by the fire with his grandmother, Mama Cuddy. She was the village's most revered elder, her wisdom deep as the earth itself. She knew the song's history better than anyone, and Tariq had longed to hear it from her lips. Mama Cuddy began to hum the tune softly, the melody flowing like a river of magic through the night air. As she sang, the world seemed to hold its breath. Tariq could feel the power in the notes, a quiet yet unmistakable strength that pulsed through him, making his heart race. When the song ended, he turned to her, eager for answers. Grandmother, he asked, what does this song unlock? Mama Cuddy's eyes narrowed, her gaze sharpening like the tip of a spear. The song is not just words, Tariq. It is a key to something that should never be unlocked. Her voice was a low whisper, filled with warning. Tariq's mind raced with questions, but before he could ask another, Mama Cuddy's voice cut through the air like a command. Never let anyone outside the village hear this song. Do you understand? Tariq nodded, but the doubts began to grow inside him. Why was the song so powerful? Why was it so dangerous? What could possibly be hidden behind such beauty? The questions gnawed at him, kept him awake long into the night. Days passed, but the song continued to call to him. Every time it was sung, Tariq could feel the weight of the elder's words press down on him. There was something more. He could sense it, feel it in the air. The villagers were afraid of the song. They whispered when it was sung too loudly. They would glance nervously around, their faces tinged with fear. What are they hiding? Tariq asked himself, the question echoing in his mind. One night, as the village slept, Tariq dreamt of a shadowy figure singing the song. But in this dream, the song was no longer peaceful. Winds howled. Trees crashed to the ground. The earth itself trembled, shaking with fury. Tariq woke with a start, his heart pounding in his chest. What does this dream mean? He whispered to himself, his voice barely audible in the dark. Is the song a blessing, or is it something darker? The dream filled him with unease, but it also sparked something deep inside. If the song was truly a blessing, why was it so dangerous? Why did it make the world tremble? What was its real power? The next day, Tariq decided to seek answers. He approached the oldest man in the village, one who had traveled beyond Kakara long ago. The man's eyes were clouded with age, but there was a sharpness in his gaze. Tariq hesitated for a moment before asking, "What do you know of the song?" The old man shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Tariq's eyes. "There are things better left unsaid," he muttered, his voice hoarse. Tariq's heart sank. The more he asked, the more people seemed to pull away. They were hiding something. But what? That evening, after another quiet conversation with the elders, Tariq made a bold decision. He had to know the truth. He had to understand the song's power. "I will find the truth," he declared to himself. "I will not be afraid." As night fell, Tariq slipped from his house, his heart pounding in his chest. He moved quickly through the village, his footsteps light but determined. The song called to him. He had to hear it again, to learn its secrets, no matter the cost. "I will uncover what lies hidden," he thought, but deep inside, he wondered what he might be about to unleash. The song grew louder, its melody haunting and powerful. Tariq pressed forward, his feet barely touching the ground, as though the forest itself was urging him deeper. The air felt thick, like the trees were watching him, whispering secrets. With every step, the shadows stretched further, reaching for him, but still, he couldn't stop. The pull of the melody was stronger than anything he had ever felt. It was calling him, drawing him closer to something he couldn't yet understand. And then, as if stepping out from the very shadows themselves, a figure appeared before him. The man was cloaked in darkness, his face hidden, but his eyes gleamed with an unsettling knowledge. "You've come for the song," the man said, his voice calm but laced with something ancient. Tariq's heart skipped a beat. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice shaky despite his best effort to sound firm. The man smiled, though Tariq couldn't see it in the dim light. "I know much about the song and its power," he replied cryptically. Tariq stepped forward, a flood of questions tumbling through his mind. "What do you know? Why does the song call me? Why do I feel like it's pulling me into something dangerous?" The stranger's eyes softened. "The song is tied to an ancient evil. An evil that was once so strong, it nearly destroyed the world. You have no idea what you're dealing with." Tariq's breath caught in his throat. "What evil? What do you mean?" The man's gaze grew distant, as though he was looking into a past long forgotten. "The song was not always like this," he began. "Long ago, a spirit named Nyamkai brought chaos to the world. The land was torn apart, villages destroyed. And so, a king mighty and wise created this song. It was a trap, a prison, to bind Nyamkai's spirit forever." Tariq listened, transfixed by the tale, his mind racing. "So the song, it traps this spirit?" he asked, piecing together what he had heard. The man nodded gravely. "Yes. The song's power is both a blessing and a curse. If sung wrongly, if the wrong person sings it, Nyamkai will be freed." Tariq's thoughts spiraled. "But why? Why would the elders sing it then? Why would they teach it to us if it's so dangerous?" "Because they know the truth," the man replied. "They know that only someone who understands the balance of light and darkness can control the power of the song. And they fear that someone might misuse it. They fear you." Tariq's mind spun. His grandmother, the elders, the village, they had all kept this secret from him. "But I can control it," Tariq said, almost to himself. "I will learn how. I have to." The stranger's eyes narrowed. "You may think you can, but do you truly understand what you're asking? The power of the song is not something to take lightly. You must be ready to face the truth, no matter the cost." Tariq hesitated. The stranger's words echoed in his mind. Was he ready? The forest, the song, the ancient spirit, it was all too much, too heavy. But the hunger for knowledge, for the truth, burned in his chest. "I will face it," he said, his voice steady with determination. "I have to." The stranger nodded, his face unreadable. "Then prepare yourself. The path you choose may not lead you back." Tariq didn't answer. Instead, he turned and headed back toward the village, his thoughts swirling like the winds in the trees. He could feel the weight of the stranger's warning, but the fire in his heart burned hotter. He would face whatever came, no matter the danger. The song's secret was his to uncover. As Tariq approached the village, the people moved aside, watching him with quiet suspicion. His grandmother, Mama Cuddy, stood at the center, her gaze fixed on him. There was a quiet storm in her eyes, as though she knew what he was about to do. Tariq felt the weight of her stare. He walked up to her, his voice trembling but firm. Grandmother, he began, why did you hide the truth about the song? What are the elders really afraid of? Mama Cuddy's face softened for a moment, but then a deep sadness crept into her eyes. Tariq, she said, her voice heavy with years of pain, the truth is too dangerous for you to understand. I need to understand, he insisted. I need to know what's been hidden from us all. The villagers gathered around, murmuring, sensing the tension in the air. Mama Cuddy sighed, her shoulders slumping as though the weight of the world rested on them. She took his hand and led him to a quiet place away from the others. Beneath the village, she began, her voice barely a whisper, there is a hidden chamber. In it lies Nyamkai, sealed away by the song. It was the king's last gift to our people, to trap the chaos and evil that once roamed the land. The song. It is the key to that seal. Tariq's heart skipped a beat. You mean, the song could release him? Nyamkai could come back. Yes, Mama Cuddy said, her voice shaking. And for centuries, we have guarded the song, hoping that no one would ever misuse it. If sung wrongly, if sung with the wrong intent, it could break the seal and release Nyamkai. We have lived in fear, Tariq. Fear that someone might unlock the chamber, and chaos would return. Tariq's mind raced. All this time, the song had been a prison. A way to keep the village safe. But what if he could control it? What if the elders had kept this secret because they didn't trust anyone to understand it? The song can protect us, or it can destroy us, Mama Cuddy continued. It is a power that cannot be taken lightly. Tariq's gaze hardened, his resolve firm. I can control it. I will understand it. I will free us from this fear, grandmother. No, Tariq, Mama Cuddy said, her voice full of sorrow. You do not understand. The power you seek. It is not yours to wield. Tariq looked her in the eyes, his voice filled with determination. I will learn. I will do what is needed. That night, under the cover of darkness, Tariq crept into the elders' meeting hall. His heart raced, knowing that this was the only way to truly understand the song. His hands trembled as he reached for the sacred scroll containing the lyrics of the song, the one secret the elders had hidden away for so long. With the scroll in hand, Tariq slipped back into the night. His heart thundered in his chest, but he couldn't turn back. Not now. The path he had chosen was set. He walked once more toward the forest, the weight of the scroll in his hands, his mind focused on what he must do. The song's truth was within his reach, but as he stepped deeper into the shadows, Tariq couldn't shake the feeling that the path ahead might be more dangerous than he could ever imagine. The song was calling, and Tariq could no longer ignore its pull. Tariq pressed on, his feet stumbling over the thick roots that twisted through the earth. The air felt heavy, and the haunting melody grew louder, pounding in his chest like the rhythm of a war drum. It seemed to come from every direction, echoing in the very bones of the forest. His heart raced as he moved deeper, each step bringing him closer to the heart of the mystery. The song was no longer just a sound, it was a force, pulling him, guiding him toward something. Then his eyes fell on it, an ancient stone altar, half hidden by thick vines and overgrown roots. It stood as a forgotten monument, carved with symbols Tariq could not read. The moment his gaze met the altar, the melody hit him with full force, almost knocking the air from his lungs. This was where the song's truth lay, the very heart of its power. With a deep breath, Tariq stepped forward and placed his hands on the cold stone. His fingers trembled, but the song called to him, growing stronger, louder. He knew this was it. This was the moment he had been searching for. Without a second thought, he began to sing. The sound of his voice broke the stillness, rising high into the air, trembling with uncertainty but growing stronger with each verse. The ground beneath him seemed to hum, like it was alive, shifting with the energy of his words. The shadows of the trees flickered, as though they were watching, waiting. But as Tariq continued, the earth began to tremble. First a slight shake, then stronger, until it felt as if the very forest was waking up, shifting around him. The wind whipped through the trees, howling like a wild animal. Tariq's voice faltered for a moment as the shadows around him swirled and thickened, turning into something darker, something more ancient. The song was no longer just a melody, it was becoming something else, something far more dangerous. His heart pounded in his chest, but he kept singing, unable to stop now, even as the ground beneath him shook harder. And then, from the thick darkness, came a voice, loud, mocking, and filled with malice. "Foolish child," the voice boomed, shaking the very air. "You dare disturb me?" Tariq stumbled back, but his feet stayed rooted. He clutched the lyrics in his hand, the words seeming to burn against his skin. He had to keep going. "I can stop you," he shouted into the wind. His voice cracked with fear, but his resolve was clear. The power of the song had to be stronger than this darkness. He would not be intimidated. The air grew colder, and the forest shook again. From the swirling shadows, a dark, formless shape emerged, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. The spirit of chaos, Nyamkai, materialized before him, a mass of swirling darkness, its very presence making the trees shudder and the earth groan beneath his feet. "You cannot control me," Nyamkai howled, its form writhing like smoke, thick and oppressive. The spirit's laughter filled the air, mocking Tariq's every effort. "I am the end of all things. You are nothing." But Tariq stood tall, the song burning in his mind. He clenched the scroll in his hands, his body trembling but firm. "I can stop you," he cried again, his voice shaking with determination. The wind howled louder, whipping around him, trying to tear him apart. The spirit of chaos reached out, its power trying to smother him, to crush him with its dark embrace. But in that moment, a memory surged in Tariq's mind, a lesson his grandmother had once shared. "The song holds both light and dark," she had said. "Just as you hold both joy and sorrow in your heart. The balance is key." Tariq's breath hitched. Balance. He understood now. The song was not just about power, it was about harmony. If he could not overpower the darkness, he would need to find a way to make them coexist, to make the song flow with both light and shadow, just as life itself did. He took a deep breath and began again, this time changing the tone of the song. His voice softened, no longer harsh or demanding. He sang with intention, focusing not on the force of the melody, but on the harmony between the two powers. The air around him shifted, the winds dying down, the shadows recoiling as if afraid. The earth itself seemed to sigh in relief as the song became a steady flow, peaceful yet strong. Nyamkai roared in fury. The spirit fought back, its dark tendrils lashing out at the balance Tariq was trying to create. The forest trembled, the ground shaking with the force of the spirit's rage. "You cannot control me," Nyamkai screamed, its voice filled with hatred. But Tariq held firm, his voice unwavering, the song now a peaceful yet powerful force. He focused all his energy on that balance, on the harmony between the light and dark. The shadows fought back, but they could not match the steadiness of Tariq's melody. As he sang, the forest around him grew quieter. The wind died down, the shadows shrank back, and the oppressive atmosphere that had once weighed so heavily on him began to lift. The darkness faded, like a storm passing away, and the earth beneath his feet stopped trembling. The song, once loud and chaotic, became a steady hum, and the shadows that had surrounded him shrank into nothing. Nyamkai's roars grew weaker, its form flickering like a dying flame. The spirit howled, but it was too late. "No, this is not the end." Nyamkai screamed as its form began to shrink, its power fading. With a final, defiant scream, the spirit of chaos was pushed back, retreating into the earth from which it had come, its presence vanishing like smoke in the wind. The forest, once alive with chaos, now stood still. The air was calm, the shadows gone, the ground steady. Tariq, exhausted but triumphant, stood alone, his heart racing as the last notes of the song echoed through the trees. The song's power had been sealed once again, and Nyamkai, the spirit of chaos, had been trapped. Tariq lowered the scroll, his hands shaking, and he took a moment to catch his breath. He had done it. The balance had been restored, and the spirit was sealed away once again. But as he stood there, the quiet of the forest surrounding him, a deep question lingered in his mind. The power of the song was not something to take lightly, not something to wield carelessly. He had seen its dangers, felt its force, and understood its weight. What would happen next? Would others seek to use it again? Would they be able to control the balance as he had? The forest was calm for now, but Tariq knew that the true power of the song was far from simple. He had sealed Nyamkai away, but the song's lessons were only just beginning to reveal themselves. Tariq had won, but the journey was far from over. Tariq returned to the village, his body weary from the trials of the forest, but his heart was filled with pride. The journey had been long, and the weight of the song's power pressed heavily on him, but he had done it. The spirit of chaos was sealed once more, and the balance of light and dark was restored. As he walked through the village, the people sensed the change in him. The air around him seemed charged, alive with the energy of the truth he carried. The villagers gathered in a circle, watching him with wide eyes, sensing the power in his every step. "The song is no longer a secret," Tariq called out, holding the sacred lyrics high above his head for all to see. His voice rang out with certainty, the weight of his actions clear in every word. A cry went up from the crowd, a mixture of awe and fear. But before any more words could be spoken, a figure broke through the crowd, a familiar face, a face filled with both relief and sorrow. Mama Cuddy rushed forward, her arms wide, and wrapped him in an embrace so tight it almost took his breath away. Her tears soaked his clothes, but there was pride in her eyes too, along with a touch of worry. "You've done what I never could," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You've unlocked the truth, but with that truth comes responsibility." Tariq nodded, his heart heavy with the understanding of what he had set in motion. The truth was now known, but it was a power that could no longer be hidden away. It was something the whole village would need to reckon with. As they stood there, the elders began to gather, their faces stern as they approached. The weight of the moment was clear to everyone. The song's power was no longer just a tool for secrecy. It was something that would affect them all. One elder stepped forward, his voice deep and grave. "What he has done changes everything," he said. "We must decide how to move forward with the song." The village elders gathered in quiet deliberation. The song, once kept hidden, was now a part of the world. They could no longer ignore its power. One elder spoke with a voice full of resolve, "We will teach the next generation. But we must teach them the balance, both light and dark. Only then can they understand how to wield the power wisely." The head elder nodded, his eyes focused with a determination that reflected the weight of the decision. "We will no longer keep the song a secret. It must be known, but it must be understood. The song will protect us, but only if we use it with wisdom." The villagers gathered as the elders shared the new decree. The song would no longer be a source of fear, it would be a tool of strength. It would unite them, but only if they understood the delicate balance within its melody. Tariq stood with Mama Cuddy, knowing that the future of their people now lay in the hands of the next generation. The change was already beginning. The children of the village gathered in small groups, eager to learn. Tariq stood before them, the scroll of the sacred lyrics in his hand. His eyes were filled with a quiet fire as he began to speak. "It's not just about singing," he said, his voice steady and calm. "The song is about understanding the balance of both light and dark in everything. Only then will you know how to use its power. If you forget the balance, you risk bringing chaos." The children listened intently, their eyes wide with curiosity. They had heard the legends of the song, but now they understood that it was not just a story. It was something that would shape their lives. With Mama Cuddy by his side, Tariq continued to teach. The song, once a hidden weapon, was now a symbol of unity. The village sang together, each note a reminder of the strength that came from understanding both the light and the dark. With each passing day, the people of the village grew stronger, their hearts and minds united by the melody. Tariq watched as the children sang, knowing that the village would thrive as long as they remembered the lesson of balance. The song was no longer a force to fear, it was a tool to protect and to guide. And as the village sang together, a new chapter had begun, one where wisdom, strength, and unity would carry them into the future. As the sun set, its warm glow stretched across the village, casting long shadows over the land. Tariq stood at the edge of the village, staring out at the horizon where the earth and sky met in quiet harmony. The forest, once a place of fear, was now peaceful. The song, which had once brought only terror, now echoed with hope and strength. He thought to himself, "We've come through the storm." He remembered the chaos, the wild winds, the dark spirit that threatened to consume everything. But they had stood together, and through the balance of light and dark, they had prevailed. Now, the air was calm. Peace had returned. Tariq's mind drifted back to his journey, to the moment when he first heard the haunting melody of the song. It had been powerful, yet full of fear. But in the end, it was the balance of the song that had saved them. Fear can hold power, he thought. But understanding that power is what makes us stronger. He had fought darkness with light, not with strength alone, but with wisdom. The song had taught him that both light and dark were needed. One could not exist without the other. The true strength of a community, Tariq thought, is not just in power, but in knowing how to use that power together. When the village had decided to embrace the song, they had understood that. They had chosen to teach it carefully, with respect for the balance it carried. Unity had become their greatest weapon. Tariq's eyes found Mama Cuddy sitting under a tree, her eyes soft with knowing. She had always understood the deeper meaning of the song, the wisdom hidden within it. Tariq walked over to her, feeling the weight of the lessons he had learned. The song was never just about power, Mama Cuddy said, her voice calm and gentle. It was about knowing when to sing, and when to be silent. Tariq stood still, letting her words sink deep into his heart. I've always thought it was about control, he admitted, his voice quiet. But now I understand. It's about respect. Respect for the light and the dark, for the power and the silence. Mama Cuddy's smile grew, and she patted his hand. You've grown, my child. You've learned the most important lesson, knowing when to act and when to wait. Tariq looked around at the village. He saw the children playing, the elders talking, and the people moving together with purpose. The village was strong, united. He had thought that wisdom came from knowing everything, from having all the answers. But now, he understood that wisdom was knowing what to do with knowledge, how to use it to serve others. Wisdom isn't just in knowing everything, Tariq said aloud. It's in knowing what to do with that knowledge. Mama Cuddy nodded, her eyes shining with pride. Tariq had come to understand the true weight of the song. It wasn't just about power or control. It was about responsibility. The song carried a gift, but it was a gift that required balance, respect, and careful use. Looking toward the future, Tariq made a promise to himself. The next generation would not just learn the song, they would learn its true meaning. He would teach them the balance of light and dark, of power and silence. The song was a gift, but it was a gift that could only be used wisely if they respected it. As the children gathered around him, eager to learn, Tariq smiled. He would lead them, just as Mama Cuddy had led him. Together, they would keep the village strong, a place where the song's power could guide them, not control them. The sun dipped lower, and the sky darkened, but the village was at peace. Tariq stood tall, his heart full of pride. The village sang the song together, not out of fear, but out of unity. The song was no longer a tool for chaos. It was a tool for strength and wisdom, a symbol of what they had learned. Tariq looked up at the sky one last time, knowing the future was safe. The song was now a part of them all, woven into the fabric of their lives. Together, they would carry its power and its lesson forward, stronger than ever before. And as the first stars appeared in the sky, a new dawn had arrived, for the village, for Tariq, and for the song that would always remind them of balance.